Greetings, Hempster. Thank you for tuning in to another hemp episode of HempAware Radio. This is your hemp-entrepreneurial host, Tyler Hemp, here to empower and educate your hemposphere because it's hemportant. Hemp entrepreneurs and hemp companies around the world struggle to market and sell their products, but it doesn't have to be that way. At HempAware, we provide strategic marketing and branding services so that hemp entrepreneurs just like you can transform the world with their hemp products and transform the planet in a way that supports all life. So if you're struggling to get traffic to your website or convert that traffic into ongoing sales, or if you're needing help with your website, your marketing, your branding in any way, visit HempAware.com and check out some of the valuable resources we have for hemp entrepreneurs and companies just like yours. On today's show, I'm pleased to introduce you to a company called Orion's Naturals. The owner, Nick Orion, has an inspiring story that we're going to share with you in just a few moments that ultimately moved him to creating one of the top CBD brands based out of the great state of Alaska. And you can find his products available on orionsnaturals.com, or if you're in the local area up there in Alaska, you can find that his products are available at several different outlets, and you'll be able to experience the amazing benefits that he has to offer and their product line. So, Hempster, if you are aware, as I am, that hemp has been pushed under the rug and denied as an essential solution for food, shelter, clothing, plastics, fuel, energy, medicine, and so much more, then you're going to really appreciate today's show as we dive into the benefits, value, uses of CBD. And if you want to take your CBD game to the next level and learn some things about how you can do better with your hemp business, then you're going to love this hemp episode. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Nick to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for jumping onto this hemp episode.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So when we first met a few weeks back, you had told me an inspiring story about your son and what inspired you to create this product line and start working with CBD. I'd love to share that story in just a moment. But before we get into that particular aspect of what inspired you to create Orion's Naturals, what's a little bit about your background and kind of what led you up to creating this company?
So I've run a garden supply store for a little over a decade, and as CBD started becoming a little more popular about 5-6 years ago, I had lots of people coming in asking for CBD, and it was actually really hard to try to find a wholesaler that would sell to me in order to resell it. So we ended up finding somebody locally that was making it, and we ended up selling their stuff. And then I had a son, as you were saying earlier, and he was born prematurely by about 5 weeks. And we had some of a competitor's CBD that was given to our kid in the hospital. And he was not doing well, but after the CBD was given to him, he pulled around and he was out of the NICU in about 3 days, which was pretty crazy. And after that, I was pretty sold on CBD. And it was, as I said earlier, the CBD was hard to get. The local supplier was inconsistent. So we decided to dive in and figure out how to do our own thing.
Wow. So you're saying that Orion, who's your son, right? He was in the intensive care unit, that he was born premature and was dealing with a few complications. And you said, I think the way you described it to me was you kind of took a few drops or just a little bit on your finger and put it on his lips or in his mouth. And within a few days, you guys were able to take him home. Is that how it happened?
That's correct.
That's amazing. So just experiencing the inconsistency of not being able to get the products that you needed, you were like, I'm just going to create my own company. And so you named it after your son and just started getting into it, huh?
Yeah, and then another thing I found out is not all CBD was created the same. Coming from the business aspect of it, we bought a bunch and sent it to testing labs, and nobody is really consistent with the dosages they're actually putting on their bottles. And so we took the extra step and we actually get ours tested so you actually know what you're buying with current test batches. That part's been neat because there was some companies that only come back at like 800 milligrams on 1,000 milligram bottle, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think is fair to the people
Yeah,
buying it.
right. Interesting. So you've integrated a sort of testing procedure to make sure that your products are quality and consistently measured, the right milligrams each time.
Correct. And the state also has their own policies, I should say, but they just basically test like the raw product of the CBD, not like after it's been made into something.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's where a lot of people went wrong is you can do a little bit of bad math accidentally, not intentionally, and not realize you're not actually putting what you say is in that bottle.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean, we found that out with trial and error too. But
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you're saying you do the testing on the actual final product, not just the original extract that's being made.
correct. So,
Nice.
for instance, we'll make, I think we do 250 bottles at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And, we randomly take a bottle down and take it down to the testing lab. And I like to measure over. So, usually anything's over by almost 100 milligrams.
Mm-hmm. And do you do that just to make sure people feel like they're getting enough, or is it to balance off any error, or what's the purpose of that?
When you're making that many bottles, to go back and adjust those bottles if they're lower is extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So we would rather be on the side that you're actually getting more than what you're paying for. And it's, really
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a couple dollars in the whole batch that you're giving out. So, I mean, it's really nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd rather have more in there than less.
Right. That makes sense. And it's not like a significant amount to where somebody might be taking in more dosage than would be recommended, right? It's still within a
Yeah,
very. Mhm.
yeah, instead of, I believe a dropper pull on our bottles is around 20 milligrams a serving at 1,000, but they come in around 1,100 or 1,080, and so you're only
Mhm.
getting like maybe an extra milligram in that dose, if that.
Yeah. Makes sense. And then what is your preferred extraction method? Like what state do you prefer your extract? Is it a full spectrum or broad spectrum? Or are you working with isolates or what's the preferred
Um,
base extract?
so we used to use a lot of those. Alaska just changed their law here in November of
Hmm.
this year. So no CBD product can contain any of the federally regulated THC compliant. So basically, now we're stuck with just isolate products.
Really? So you're saying you can't even have a product that's 0.3% THC in Alaska?
No, they just changed the law due to the fact that
Wow.
the cannabis industry put up a huge debate with the state, and the state finally said, basically, we're getting more money off the taxes off this, so we're just going to make that not available in our products here in Alaska.
Wow.
So yeah, we had to get rid of all of our full spectrum and the broad spectrum because there are chances that there could be THC remaining left in it, and
That's
it was
incredible.
kind of
So
a
it's a
it was a pretty
0%
big kill
policy.
shot. Yeah.
So are you adding other compounds, like whether it's terpenes or other phytochemicals or nutrients or any other compounds to your blend to kind of give additional benefits or advantages, or is it just like a carrier oil and
So
a
it's basically just carrier oil in the isolate, and then we
okay.
offer a flavoring,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what makes our product stand out
Mm-hmm.
over almost any CBD product I've ever tasted. It's palatable.
Right.
I found an extractor that uses, so a lot of ours are like fruit related,
Mm-hmm.
and so they actually extract the actual fruit, and it's a
Nice.
natural extraction, and then they do some sort of process to it so it doesn't mold or whatever, and then we add that in as
Good.
flavoring. So there's something there, and we have quite a few flavors. We have 12 or 14 flavors.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe I do want to talk a little bit more about your hemptrepreneurial endeavors and kind of some challenges that you have faced. But before we get into that, let's talk about your product line. Tell me about the different products you offer and the flavor profiles. What does that look like?
So due to the new law,
Yeah.
we're really changing. We're able to change our whole menu up. So right now we just have tinctures and salves.
Okay.
We normally have gummies, but we're reformulating that, and we also have dog treats as well. And we have flavors for the pet CBD as well for the tinctures.
Cool.
And
Like a fish flavor?
Well, we have tuna.
Tuna, it is fish.
Yeah. And then we have chicken,
Nice.
bacon, and a salmon oil.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the cats really love the tuna.
I bet.
It's just like cracking open a can of tuna. It's pretty rough if you don't like tuna.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So you had 12 flavors originally, but due to the regulations changing, you had to kind of shift gears. And right now you're focused on tinctures and salves and going to be bringing the gummies back here pretty soon, as well as the dog treats and pet products.
Correct.
Nice. Well, as far as running a hemp business, you're a hemprepreneur, and it's not being an entrepreneur yet alone a hemprepreneur. There's more challenges and difficulties that one could face. And I want to commend you for weathering the storm and going through what you've gone through. And, there's been certain challenges as a business owner, a CBD company. What are some of those challenges that you have faced, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Originally, it was banking. Banking was the hardest thing in the beginning. I mean, I could have put my head through a wall multiple times. Luckily, now we're able to do it now. But the problem was all the local banks still see CBD as a marijuana product and not as a separate entity of that.
Yeah.
And so the banking was probably the biggest issue coming from the business aspect. And it was like, this business can put, like, I've never run into the issue.
Yeah.
And then it was, you can't do that. You can't take credit cards. Originally, like PayPal shut us down because we were using PayPal, and then they changed their terms of service in the middle of the night, and then about 2 minutes later said, you violated our terms of service and canceled our account.
No fun.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We had to actually get a lawyer because they wouldn't give us our money back.
Oh my.
That was pretty crazy.
Wow. So you're saying you were able to find a bank that was a non-local bank, or is it like a credit union? Or you don't have to obviously share the name of the bank if you don't feel comfortable.
We use the credit union. I'll put it that way. They understood. I was like, it's federally legal. There's nothing illegal about this. We have a business license for it. We have a hemp license for it. And so finally, after some talking and some showing them paperwork on the difference between cannabis and hemp, we'll open your account. So
Right on. That's cool. So you just kept trying. Did you have to reach out to multiple banks and let them know
I
what you're up
probably
to?
went every banking facility in the town I live in.
Right. So, what other difficulties, challenges, problems that you have faced? It could be related to hemp or regulations. It could be just related to typical business operations. Are there other things that you've encountered, like sales, marketing, branding, or anything that you've come across that you've had to kind of learn and grow and evolve? And what might that be?
I guess one of the big challenges here, because marijuana is legal in Alaska under the right licensing. So when that board came on, they decided they had a big check, and so they came around and they seized every CBD product sold in all of the stores because they were under the impression of marijuana.
Right.
And so they basically held hundreds of thousands of dollars from everybody, and they basically let it expire. And then they called everyone and said, "You can come pick your products up."
Weird.
And it was there was a lot of lawyers that got involved with it, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it was just then they formed Alaska Industrial Hemp, and so then they deal with it. But they're realistically still getting bullied from the marijuana side because of the THC factor, which is silly. 0.03% is nothing in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things.
So you're saying marijuana growers, marijuana sellers, like dispensaries, are the ones that are having an issue? Is that
Yeah,
what's going on?
it was the manufacturers, the people that make like the cartridges and edibles and stuff like that. They were claiming it was hurting their business because people with a hemp license could just buy it off of here, and the cost difference. And I
Wow.
was like, you're really not comparing the same thing, though.
That's unfortunate.
It is. I mean, it was a pretty big kill shot to the industry here in Alaska. And I mean, there's a lot of people that like all those extra cannabinoids in there for that entourage effect. And it's
Exactly.
like we can't produce it legally anymore.
Man, it's a shame what greed can do. These groups that have lobbying power get their way. So as far as your business model, are you mainly focused on B2B sales or end consumers, B2C? What is your business approach?
I'd rather, I look at it as both.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I want to connect with the end user of it. And I mean, we have people, I tell them, call me, email me, if I'm awake, I will answer it. I will get to you the next day. But going to the businesses is easier to get it to the customers because they have more foot traffic other
Mm-hmm.
than inside the website.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you do offer on your website as well as in store, like local shops, boutique kind of like CBD shops, or is it dispensaries, or where would people be able to find your product?
dispensaries, yeah, it's dispensaries locally.
Mm-hmm.
They're really the only ones that can carry the license to resell it in the
Oh,
state.
interesting. So you wouldn't find a CBD product at like a health food store or a little boutique herbal shop or something like that. You can only buy CBD products at dispensaries.
There's probably two of those herbal stores you can probably get them at that have got the license, but
Okay.
most people aren't forking out the money for the license.
Interesting. That is so strange that you have to get a license to sell CBD retail products. I would think in most states, it's just like selling any other supplement. You go to a
Right.
health food store and it's right next to the, ginkgo biloba or the ashwagandha extract. Right next to that, you got the CBD extract. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, well,
Um,
it's $400 just for the license to be able to resell it. So I mean, I
mhm.
guess your sales would have to overcome that number
Yeah.
realistically. I don't know if, I mean, there was a place over in Palmer here that was real big on it, but after all these retail started opening and, you know, they're really just selling it quite fast, to be honest with you, as opposed to where you could find it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um,
Well, as far as like CBD itself, this is an amazing cannabinoid. It's an amazing compound that has so many different benefits. What are you finding to not only be some of your customers' favorite benefits, but what do you like most about CBD and cannabinoids and their therapeutic value?
I like that people don't have to take pharmaceutical drugs and they can
Mm-hmm.
use things completely natural. It's way healthier for you. And I just think we got lost somewhere with greed and money on the pharmacy side to lose the plant-based products that have been healing people for hundreds and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, the one thing I didn't think CBD would help with is gout.
Mm.
But we've had people take just tinctures and rub it wherever the spot is, and about 2 days later they're fine.
Wow. That is
And
cool.
it's really neat hearing the different ailments that people have that helps, because it's such a broad thing that it does. Like Tylenol, it's like people take Tylenol for a bunch of different reasons, but there's CBD is the same way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's cool. So you've had customers been able to get rid of pain, gout specifically. Now, how about in terms of the other benefits and uses of industrial hemp rather than other than cannabinoids? What are some of your other favorite aspects of the industrial hemp plant and what it can do?
I love the fact that we can make clothing, rope, fibers, and it's a lot more sustainable. It's cleaner for the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And hemp clothing lasts longer than cotton by a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
I even use hemp-based shampoo. So I don't
Nice.
know. I'm not big on chemicals. I like a lot of plant-based things, but
Mm-hmm.
and our original clothing, when the people settled here were hemp. They weren't.
Right.
They weren't. So
Mm-hmm.
we've lost track somewhere on the benefits of it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the historical aspects of hemp, do you have any fun facts or historical tidbits or things like that that you can share about hemp?
um, I don't. I actually even tried to look it up, try to come up with something good. I just,
No worries.
I don't really have anything off the wall on that one.
That's all good. No problem at all. So, in terms of, somebody coming and meeting you for the first time, maybe encountering your products, what are some of the common questions that people have, before using your products or maybe even after your products?
I'd say one of the biggest questions is, they're going to show up on a drug test.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had, the THC compliant products, we didn't recommend that if you had to take a drug test.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when it comes to tinctures, they don't use it correctly. We went and saw a doctor on the best way for liquids to get absorbed into the body, and that's under the tongue. So if you can hold the product, any CBD product that's a liquid, under your tongue for about 2 minutes, you'll absorb most of that rather than swallowing it and your liver processing it out.
Interesting. So, sublingually is the best way to absorb CBD?
Or rectally.
Okay.
But
Think they're
most people do,
suppositories.
or yeah.
Interesting. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are taking in CBD with suppositories, but they're definitely out there. I have seen a few on the market.
Right.
Okay, so people also ask you if it'll show up on a drug test. And currently, the way that your products are made, because it's an isolate, there's no issues with them having a drug test go off, right? But previously, there was possibly an issue if there was residual THC, or even if it was legally compliant with 0.3%, that could show up on a test.
Right. And, the people doing the drug tests are just looking for THC. They're not knowing whether it came from hemp or it came from marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's the faint line on there, which is probably what hemp compliant THC would show up as, a faint line. We just recommend, don't put yourself in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm. Don't risk it.
Yeah.
Right on. So, I guess my kind of last couple of questions are, why have a hemp company? Obviously you were inspired with your son having experienced those tremendous results, but what is your bigger mission? What is your vision for having this company, and where do you see yourself going in the long term?
I love that it helps people, and that, to me, like, I saw what it did for my son, and I just hope that other people get the same benefit, whether their mother, their grandpa, their grandma, their sister. They can have that benefit, or it can help them in a process that would be more costly, going to like a doctor or using pharmaceuticals.
That's great.
And I think in the future, I don't know how it's going to go with the new law that was just passed here. So everything's kind of in the air right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm sure that's what everybody here in the state is.
Mm-hmm.
Change their entire menus, their entire product lines.
Yeah.
And we have to literally throw away product because you can't sell it.
Unreal. It's crazy how beneficial this product is, and yet they're still hiding it from people, and just not hiding it, but taking it away, just not allowing people to receive these benefits. But I'm really glad to hear you're out there doing your thing. And I want our listeners to visit orionsnaturals.com, check out some of your products, and really appreciate what you're up to. It's kind of a parting question that I always love to ask my guests is, if you were standing on a stage and could share a message with the entire world, it could be about hemp or it could be anything in general, what would you want to share with them in a minute or less?
Try to go back to plant-based remedies and plant-based diet, because that is, protein originally starts from a plant, and the biggest animals on earth eat vegetation, and they do just fine. And I think there's a lot of natural remedies out there that can do just as much as pharmaceuticals, and for a fraction of the price.
Right on. Well, there you have it, folks. This is Nick with orionsnaturals.com. Really appreciate having you on the show, and look forward to seeing you out there in the hemp world. And if this is your first time listening to HempAware Radio, check us out at HempAware.com. If you've got your own hemp company and are looking for support or help growing your business, getting traffic to your website, boosting your sales, or just managing that entire process and sort of automating everything, we'd love to be of service. We have over 18 years helping grow hemp companies and are in it for the long haul. So visit HempAware.com and let us know what your interests are. Let us know what you want to hear about on the show, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks again, Nick. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.